Hi, and welcome to Bible Talks with Belinda. If you are new to the channel, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for coming back. I am going to do a quick Bible talk about King David's first wife, Michal. She was also King Saul's daughter, which made her Princess Michal. As I was finishing up the book of Second Samuel, the Holy Spirit had me to kind of linger and go back and read some of the to zone in and focus on Michal and her story. And the Lord began to revelate and reveal some things about her life and her hidden issues she had with patriarchy and just women, things that women go through in general. So I am going to do, like I said, a quick little Bible talk about her. And also, if you have not watched any of the other Bible study, I have plenty of other Bible studies, and most of it is really related to women. And the Holy Spirit gives me, downloads, and I come on here and I share it with you. And even sometimes I go back and I watch some of the videos, and I'm kind of like, oh wow, I didn't even remember saying that. But the Holy Spirit teaches us, and so I am sharing some of the things that the Lord shared with me on here, and so we'll get started. All right, so I am in First Samuel 18, King James Version. And before I start talking about Michal, I want to give you a little bit of context about this chapter. King Saul at the time was having some animosity towards David. David was not yet king yet, but he had gone out and they had went to war, and David had slain the Philistines, and the story about the uh, Goliath the giant, and the victories that David had won. And so the women of Israel were singing David's praises, and Saul, the women of Israel were singing that Saul had slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. And Saul had became very displeased, and he became very um, just a lot of animosity had built up towards David. And so he had tried to actually kill David a couple times. If you read on in his chapter, he tried to kill him with a javelin in his hand. And the Lord brought upon an evil spirit. And when David played his instrument for him, played music for him, it quelled down the evil spirits in him. But Saul still had this animosity because he saw the potential for David to be king of Israel and to possibly take his place one day. So King Saul devised, he was trying to come up with some. He couldn't kill him because David was, he was young and nimble, so he was able to dodge King Saul's javelin a couple of times, but he still, in obedience, went back and obeyed, what the king wanted, which I found very extremely noble. The Bible says that, you know, obedience is better than sacrifice. So, wow, what a great example, right? And so it says, and Saul said to David, "Behold, my elder daughter, Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou violent in for me and fight the Lord's battle." For Saul said, "Let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him." So he came up with this crafty idea to get David to go out and fight the Philistines. So he was thinking like, oh, the Philistines is going to kill him, and so he won't die at my hands. He'll die at the hands of the Philistines, and I'll set this up to say, hey, as a dowry, because back in those days, the if someone wanted to marry a king's daughter, they had to, dowry was very significant for a king's daughter, right? So even for a common person, you may have to get one or two cows, but for a king's daughter, you're gonna have to bring a whole flock of herds and sheep and cattle and probably shekels and all kind of stuff to marry your king's daughters, right? So, but David was from a poor farm family. So he didn't have, that type of dowry to bring. So David said unto Saul, who am I and what is my life or my father's family in Israel that I should be the son-in-law to the king? All right. But it came to pass at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, should be given to David, that she was given unto Adriel the Meholite to wife. Whew. All right. Um, so it seems as if that this deal had fallen through for whatever reason. I do believe that he went out to fight the Philistines, and he probably won, but because it says she should have been given to David. So I believe that David fulfilled his part of the agreement, but this other guy came along, Adriel, and she was given to him. So I looked up these names. Saul's first eldest daughter, her name means increase, and Adriel, it means herd, flock. Um, so those are the Hebrew meanings of those names. So this guy, Hebrew names in the ancient Hebrew Bible days, they had significant meaning. So I believe that Adriel had a great was able to bring a great big dowry to King Saul to be able to marry his eldest daughter. All right, so this is where we get into the Bible study about Michal. Michal was Saul's youngest daughter. And notice the language here. It says, and Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. All right, so when you're looking at this, you're thinking like, how in the world did she love David? Like, she would have not even David probably would have not even had access to her as the king's daughter. But was she just in love with the idea of him? And it doesn't say that at any point that they courted or they had any type of meaningful interaction. It just seemed like all of this started in her head, and then it just billowed out into this unfounded, unsubstantiated love, to the point to where it just literally consumed her. So that's something to think about and take into consideration. It doesn't say she liked him, she had interest in him, or wanted to be noticed by him. No, it went to she loved him. And love is such a strong emotion that you would do anything for love, right? And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twain. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, commune with David secretly, and say, behold, the king hath delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake those words in the ears of David. And David said, seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man and lightly esteemed? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, "Oh, this manner spake David." And Saul said, "Thus shall ye to say to David, the king desired not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines to be avenged of the king's enemy." But Saul sought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. So I want to, as I spoke at the beginning of my video, that I want to zone in on Michal, um, and her life, right? So we know that King David had very interesting life. David was supposed to marry her sister, you know, and it's almost as if she was coveting that situation, right? Mikhail means a stream. It means, in Hebrew, it means a stream. So, and it means a small stream. Stream, I think it was streamet or something like that. It means a small stream. So when you compare the two names of her, the Hebrew meaning like a small streamet, to her eldest daughter, which means increase, that is a big difference there. So, I would not covet my sister's ex-fiance, should I say, because basically that's pretty much what David was to her elder sister. So she loved David. So, and it was to the point, for quote unquote Day to tell Saul, it was something that she expressed openly, and she was very vocal about it. It probably was just eating her up how much she loved this man. And it said they told Saul, and when they told him, they said it pleased him. And Saul said, "I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him." Now, why did King Saul think that she would be a snare to him? Possibly because he knows his daughter, right? He knows his daughter. He knows that he did not say that about his first daughter. He just said that, he thought that, by offering the eldest daughter to him, he would fall by the hands of the Philistine. But now, okay, we don't even have to worry about, this, but now she's going to bring him down. So I'm going to, use her as a pawn, and offer her to him, but I'm going to require that he brings 100 the foreskins of 100 Philistine, which is, I believe, just outrageous for dowry. I would have been like, no, I'm good. I'll just find somebody else. I don't need to be married to a king's daughter. But to be married to a king's daughter, even David said, seeming to you a like thing, like this is huge for me because I'm a poor man. And, I don't even have the status. Ariel, the one that the other daughter was married off to, who knows, he may have had some type of high status, esteem in Israel, to be able to be worthy to be married to a king's daughter. All right. So, and the servants of Saul told him, saying, "On this manner spake David." All right. That's what he went back. So they were communicating through servants, which I found interesting, and not direct, because you think something like this will be communicated to, direct. All right. And let's see. So David arose, went, and he and his men slew of the Philistines 200 men, and David brought their foreskin. So not only did he do 100, but he doubled the dowry, right? And they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. Now, it never says that David loved her. It always says that she loved him. And I think this is a cautionary tale to women. It's okay to show interest, in a guy, because we're gonna find out what her life had succumbed to is really, really sad. And I, like I said, I think this is a cautionary tale to not, to show interest but not be, so far gone to where, you just kind of use any, however, whatever it takes to get with him. So be it. We'll continue on there. All right. So the next verse that I'm coming to is 1 Samuel 19. All right, I'm going to go to the King James Version. All right, so I'm 1 Samuel 19, and I am in the, let's see, make sure I'm in the right one. 19:11. So it says, so Saul was, still angry with David, and he was still trying to kill David, right? All right. So Saul sent messengers into David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, "If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain." So she's trying to warn David that, they're going to come to the house. They're going to come to the house tomorrow, and they're going to kill you. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled, and he escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster and covered it with the cloth. And when Saul sent messages to take David, she said, "He is sick." All right. So she has covered for him, and she has helped save his life. I guess as a good wife should do. And Saul sent messengers again to David, saying, "Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him." And when the messenger would come in, behold, there was an image in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair. And Saul said unto Michal, why hast thou deceived me, and sent away my enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Saul, "He said unto me, Let me go. Why should I kill thee?" All right. So David fled and escaped and came to Samuel, to Ramah, and told him all Saul had done, and he and Samuel went and dwelt. So this is where Saul was expecting Michal as his daughter to be in alliance with him, to bring, to be a snare to David. All right. But she loved him very much, and so she went against her father. All right. So as I meditate on this verse 17, it says, and Saul said to Michal, why hast thou deceived me? It's almost asking, like, he wasn't expecting for her to do that, right? It says, "You sent away my enemy, that he is escaped." And Michal answered, said, "He said unto me, Let me go. Why should I kill thee?" So she says that basically, you let me go, or I'm going to kill you. But we know that the plot for him to get away was her entire idea. So it makes me wonder, and this is just my theory, did Saul have a discussion with his daughter? If you marry this guy, just know one day, I'll let you marry him, and you can be his wife, because I know you love him and with everything. But just know one day it's going to come a day where you're going to have to turn him over to me, as because he is my, at the end of the day, he is my enemy, and we are family, and this is a king. This is an empire that I am trying to save, but I'm going to need you to help me to do that. And it's like she has to say, well, I could not keep the agreement that we made because he threatened to kill me. So I had to let him go. It's like that was like the only answer that she could give to make it even you know, believable. And not because I loved him, he's my husband, and I wouldn't dare let you kill my husband. You know, that was something that you would think a regular wife would respond as, you know, I don't care if you are my father. You know, this is the man that I love. Even though he was the king, he probably could have, you know, killed her. You know, that could be another reason why she lied to him. But it's interesting that, you know, it's like, you know, you let him get away knowing that he's my enemy. It's almost like, you know, you could kind of read to, you know, into that a little bit to say, hey, did they have a discussion to where she was just like, okay, just let me marry him, you know, I don't care, you know, I just want to be with him, you know, I don't care if I'm going to have to deliver him over to you one day. I just want to be with this man. You know? All right. And so that theory can kind of be supported here when you go back and you look at, we're still in the same chapter, but when I read this again, I saw something that I didn't see before. So this is when before the you know, Michael saves David from being killed. We have to back up a little bit because this is a time when right before that Saul had tried to kill David again. It says Saul sought to smite David to the wall with a javelin, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence and smote the javelin into the wall. All right, so then it says Saul, verse 11, Saul also sent messengers until David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. Now, it's interesting that the writer uses the word messengers and not spies. So you would think that if, you know, you're going to, you know, watch someone, you would send spies out to spy out the property and to report back. But the writer uses the term messenger here. And what do messengers do? They deliver a message, right? And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, if thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. Now, David was in the house with her. And so it's interesting how this message got up to Michal to that it was, you know, he was going to be slain the next in the morning, right? Like, how did she have all of these details about when it was time for him to meet his demise? It's almost as if messengers came to watch the house and to inform her, okay, you know, you're just like Saul sent messengers and servants to deliver the message to David about, you know, being his son-in-law. It's almost, you can see how Saul could have sent these messengers to her to be like, hey, you know, now is the time to fulfill our agreement, right? And in the morning is when all of this is going to take place, right? So it says, so she let him down through a window and he went and fled and he escaped. And Michael took an image because she knew they were coming in the house in the morning to get them, so she knew to make it look like, you know, he was in the bed sick. You know, it's like she had all these details about what was going on. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, bring him up to me in the bed that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed. And Saul said unto Michael, why hast thou deceived me? So it's he's shocked that, you know, she did not fall through with the agreement, is what it looks like to me. But like I said, this is just my theory, so you all be the judge of that. Let me know what you think in the comment. All right. So you can read on about this, but David had to escape, and he was kind of like, um, an outcast for a while. All right, and then he was going, and he had made alliance with the Philistines, and he was fighting against Israel, because he was pretty much banned from Israel, right? So the next time we see um Saul, it was Michal. This is First Samuel 25. I don't know why all this. Let's see. Change this here. First Samuel 25, and this is verse 44. All right, so David had been gone for a long time, and when we come to chapter 25, um, David had went off, and he had married. He had this whole he had taken on other wives, and he had concubines and everything. And so let's see. Now, mind you, that Michal was his first wife, and he, you know, after everything that had happened, she had helped saved his life and everything. But he went off and he married all these other women, and he never came back for her, right? He never came back for her to take her in, and knowing that how much she loved him. Could you imagine, like, the love of your life, your father is trying to kill him, yet you help him escape, and then he goes off, and surely you're going to hear about all these victories and everything that he's done, and all these great things that this man is doing, and then you hear that, oh my gosh, he's got what, 3 4 wives and concubines, and all this, and here I am, left with nobody. So Saul gave which I found interesting, he gave Michal, his daughter, David's wife, to felt faulty. I know I'm pronouncing these names. I should have done a translation of these Hebrew names, because they be rough on me. But we're gonna keep going. The son of Laish, which was of Galium. So here she saw being, which I found interesting, the king, even though she was married to David, she was given to another man for to be his wife. That seems like today they would call that bigamy. In Hebrew culture, for a married wife to be with a married man, she was with to be with, as a married woman, to be with another man, that was worthy of being stoned to death. But I think there was a loophole, given that King Saul, he was the king, so he was able to do what he wanted to do with his daughters. I think that was the case there, because I'm like, gosh, how did that happen, right? Because today we'll be like, oh no, I'm married, I have to get a divorce first before I can go over here. But it doesn't look like anything like that happened. So this guy that she was given to, we'll see here that he loved her very much, right? He loved her very much. And after David is made king again, he goes over. So we're in Second Samuel 3. All right. So David is fighting for the kingdom, and he is fighting for the kingdom. And so in this battle, uh there is a victory. And David, after having all these women and all these things, he he says to David sent messengers um, to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, "Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines." So you see, Michal was still technically his wife, that he had rightfully paid a dowry for, with the foreskins of 100 Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband. Ha! She basically had two husbands. Wow. That's rare in Hebrew culture. She took her from her husband, and her husband went along weeping behind her to Baharim. Then said Abner unto him, "Go, return." And he returned. So this was, imagine, David going off and, you know, fighting all these wars, fighting all these battles. You help to save his life. He takes Bathsheba, another man's wife. He takes these concubines and all these things. And then your father probably had pity on her, in some way, and gave her to a man that would cherish and love her, right? But now David comes back because having the even so, having this woman as another, having a king's daughter gives your would give his kingship more validity, right? So I don't think even in this sense it was about love, right? It was about status. And so she was taken from her husband that loved her very much, even to the point where this guy, Bahaltiel, I think that's how you pronounce that, was weeping at when they came and they took her. And it got to the point where he probably was so pitiful because he really loved her. And Abner had to tell him to go, and he had to leave because Abner was the general of the army, David's army. And so he probably would have killed him if he kept on going. So you kind of have some empathy and sympathy. Now we know that David was not a perfect man when it came to women, and his flaws are very much highlighted, right? But we do know that David was a man after God's own heart. And but he did have some flaws here, and so this is one of the things that was highlighted here. But you have to realize that Michal put herself in this situation, and I hate to say it like that, because she coveted, her sister's fiance, and expressed openly this love that she had for him. And now King Saul saw this as an opportunity to use his daughter to spite David, right? All right. So had she just waited for her husband, and the rightful person, which I believe was this guy for Tial, that she probably would have lived her days out as a happily married woman. All right. So that's something that to keep in mind, trying to force something to happen, trying to, run after a man or chase after a man, So try to pull some revelation from that, and how that relates to, your life or someone else's life. And I see this a lot, I see this a whole lot. All right. So that was the part on that. And let's see. All right, so now we are in Second Samuel chapter 6, and we come to the infamous story of King David. He has now he is now king over Israel, and one of his first duties is to bring the Ark of God back into Israel, and he is set out to do that. So he took 30,000. It says David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, which was 30,000. All right. So there was some time between the I don't know how much time it passed between Second Samuel 3, where we went over, that David had requested for Michal to requested his wife back, Michal, and she had to come back from her husband at the time, to Second Samuel, where he is actually made king. So just think about this. So Michal is, she was technically his first wife, but now when she is brought back under as King David's wife, now she's with this harem of women, that she's having to share her husband with. Think about, Bathsheba, and the child, um the kids that he's had with other women, and her, just seeing all of this, and she's still childless, and this was the first man that she ever loved, and she doesn't have a child about this man, and here she was the wife to, we would assume that she was the wife to one man that loved her very much, Fatilio, and I probably pronounce his name 5 different ways, but just get the revelation. She was the wife of one husband, and now she's one of many now to King Saul. So you can imagine some of the animosity that has built up in her over time regarding this situation, right? And it's something that she never dealt with, right? It's something that she has held in her heart for probably many years, and just resentment and anger, and just feeling betrayed in a sense, all right, so we come down here to we're in Second Samuel chapter 6, and we're talking about the ark of the Lord that King David is now bringing back to Israel. And so 6:16. All right, so this is talking about him bringing the ark back. So it says, and David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. All right, so he's dancing, he's shouting, he's just imagine somebody using all the every muscle and every part of their body to dance. So David in all the house of Israel, now he went with 30,000 men, but everybody in Israel is out on the streets and they are bringing the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. Like, this is like a big jubilee celebration that's just going on. All of Israel is out, and they're watching King David. Now, this is an interesting scene, and I may actually insert a video of this actual in here somewhere so that you all can see this. But it is very interesting. David was king at this time, but here he is girded with a linen ephod. So, he doesn't have on his kingly, robe, and his kingly, all the attire that comes with it. This is very humble attire for him to be in as a king, right? And it says, as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. So it's interesting that she saved his life by letting him down through a window, and now here she is, with all of Israel. She probably was the only person that was, you know inside when the ark of the Lord is coming down, and she's looking through the window and she saw him leaping and dancing, and she despised him in his heart. So why did she despise him? Because of all the stuff that I went over earlier. All these things that happened to her, and so all this animosity is in her heart. And one thing I do realize is that by her despising David, you really got to dig into and get the revelation out of it. Not only did she despise David, but she despised God, because what was he doing? He was dancing and he was praising God because the ark of the Lord was coming back. Everybody in Israel was out, but here she is seething and angry, and just bitterness in her heart, right? And they brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. So he's out there, he even after doing all this dancing and singing and praising, and he's offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, and he's blessing the people. This is a priestly duty. Not only that, that king, he not only is he king, but he is operating as the high priest of Israel by making burnt offerings. Here he is out there, probably chopping up the sacrificial animals and bleeding them out, and burning them on the altar, and peace offerings, and all the grain offerings, all this stuff. And he's blessing the people. All these great things are happening. It says, and he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, to everyone a cake of bread, a good piece of flesh, and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, everyone to his house. So this is a huge celebration. It says, then, after he gets through blessing the people of Israel, then David returned to his household. And Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids and of his servants. And one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself. So what is she saying here? She's saying, how, you a king, you're out here doing this dance, and basically you're uncovered, you're dancing, and this is in front of your handmaids and your servants. So this is more so, this is something that the common man, from what I can gather from this is something that the common man would do to seduce women, dancing and all of this in scantily attire. She's saying, she's taken something that is sacred, and that is that one of the most you know blessed and righteous thing that he can do as a king, something that is holy, and can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but she has pretty much perverted it, right? How someone can take something that is done in the right spirit, in the right righteous, and pervert it. So uh think about it in that context. Like, you could tell how bitter and how much her heart was turned, because she couldn't even see something holy. That's the thing I'm thinking about. Something holy in the sight of the Lord, she has perverted it. Why? Because her heart was bitter and was perverted. So, she's speaking from her heart, right? So that just shows you the depth of what and how she feels and how she sees the holy things of God. Because it comes down to here in 21 says, and David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord which chose me before thy father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord. So the Lord, so he's basically saying, before your father became king, the Lord appointed me ruler over the people, but Israel wanted Saul, so Lord gave them Saul. But in all honesty, the Lord would have made David, if they would have waited, they would have God would have raised David up in due time and made him king over the people, right? All right. And so that is kind of a contrast to like, had Michal waited, right? And waited for the Lord to send her husband, then she wouldn't even be in this predicament, right? So let's see, I'll read that again. David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord which chose me before thy father, before all his house, to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore will I play before the Lord, and I will yet be more vile than us, and will be base in my own sight. And of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. So, he was like, even if I have to go even farther than this, then, I'll do whatever it takes, but what you have seen as perverted, the maid servants and the servants see, and they are holding me in honor. Now here you are, my wife, and you are saying that I have dishonored Israel, and I've dishonored you as my wife, and have done this perverted and paganistic, dance before them, but they've held me in high honor. And it says 23, therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child until the day of her death. So we can pull from that. After that, he never, had relations with her. He pretty much put her probably in well, as we go on, we'll see, he just kind of put her aside. He no longer probably interacted with her. She was just kind of a just there, but he still took care of her because it was his wife. But she just really probably lived the rest of her life out as a just as a someone who was just in the household of David. All right. So let's see. We're gonna come to second. Let's see. The last Bible verse that deals with Michal is 2 Samuel 21:8. All right, and so this is talking about when there was a famine in the land of Israel, and David did not know why there was a famine in the land of Israel. And so the Lord had given him revelation. It's because Saul had killed the Gibeonites. Now, if you don't remember that, I believe it was back in either Deuteronomy or Leviticus, where Joshua had, or was it the book of Joshua? I can't remember now. But Joshua had made a unbeknownst to him, the Gibeonites had pretty much tricked him into not killing off them. They had came to him and made a pact with them, because God had told Joshua to basically kill everything, destroy everyone in the land of Canaan. But the Gibeonites were smart, and they came and they tricked Joshua into making a treaty with them. So once Joshua found out who they were, well, Joshua had to honor the treaty that he made with the Gibeonites. So the Lord, because he had made that treaty without going to the Lord and inquiring of the Lord made him honor that. So the Gibeonites were pretty much required to be. They were kind of I don't want to say slaves to the children of Israel, but they were subservient to them. But their life was spared. So they did work some wisdom out there in that situation, but they were subservient to the Israelites in the land of Canaan. But when Saul came along, it says that Saul killed the Gibeonites. So many years later, even after Saul was gone, the Lord still remembered the Gibeonites. So let this be a lesson that even if it's not repaid in or that sin is not punished in that season, the stuff still lives on for generations. Saul killed those Gibeonites, but generations later, there had to be a recompense for that, right? And it says and the Lord answered, it it is for Saul and for his bloody house because he slew the Gibeonites. So many years later, there's a famine in the land because Saul had killed the Gibeonites many years before. And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites, and the children of Israel had sworn unto them, and Saul sought to slay them. All right. Wherefore David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you? And wherewith shall I make the atonement that ye may bless the inheritance of the Lord? And the Gibeonites said unto them, we will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house, neither of us shall thou kill any man in Israel. And he said, what shall say that will I do for you? So he's like, what can I do to make this curse of this famine go away? Because the curse is because of what happened to what Saul did. And they answered the king, the man that consumed us and that devised against us that we should be destroyed for remaining in any coast of Israel, let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up unto the Lord of Gibeah of Saul, whom the Lord did choose. And the king said, I will give them. So there's seven people that's got to be killed to satisfy this curse over Israel, to remove the curse of the famine. But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the Lord's oath that was between them. All right. But the king took the sons. He took 7 sons. I'm not going to pronounce all this. And he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them in the hill before the Lord. And they fell all 7 together and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days in the beginning of barley harvest. All right. So it comes down here. This is what I want to get to. Let's see. It is. Here it says, the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bare unto Saul, Armani, and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Mohalatite. All right. So as I meditated on this, this revelation just came to me that the 5 sons that Michal raised, it says that the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai. Now, I realized that is this is her her sister's husband. So she was a surrogate mom to the she raised them as her own kids, right? So not only was she was a surrogate mom to them, but she was also their aunt. Because Adriel, the son of we where do we remember this from? It says, but it came to pass. Remember, in the beginning of the study, we talked about Saul's elder daughter that David was supposed to initially marry, but when it came time for David to take her as his wife, Saul gave his daughter to Adriel the Holothite. So these were her nephews that were um, killed to satisfy the curse over Israel. So imagine, that, how heart wrenching that was for her. Not only, did she raise these kids as her own, but they were also her nephews. And so this is like the end of the legacy for the kingdom of Saul, right? This is it. This is all that was left, and it really makes you wonder. Like the theory that I put out before, did she make a pact with her father to one day turn David over to him in order to save the kingdom, but in the end, she saw the total destruction of the annihilation of King Saul's legacy, and she had to live out the rest of her days with that, grieving that, so King Saul said that it pleased him that his daughter loved David because she would be a snare to him, but in the end, look at the outcome of all of the trickery and all of the planning and conning, and the outcome that impacted his daughter. So we can gather from this that something happened to we don't know, right? Or maybe I haven't come across. I maybe have to dig a little deeper to find out what happened to her sister. Did because this was five sons that it says she brought up. So the eldest daughter had to live long enough to have five kids. Did she die in labor? Did she die of natural causes? Did what happened? Because it looks as though Michal had to step in and raise these kids for her sister. So we see that this is a terrible end to the saga of Michal. So it's a tragic story, and it is a telling story, but you know, um, it is something to definitely study and to definitely read about and to meditate on, and to ask God, if you see any traces of any characteristics of the cow in your life, to ask the Lord to uproot them, right? Because, we see the tragic end of how, things happen. I'm going to end the video here and just say that thank you for, if you made it this far, thank you for staying on. And as I always end all my videos, I like to say that salvation is the greatest gift known to man. And I highly encourage you to accept the gift of salvation. And just know that God loves you, and so do I, and give your life to Jesus. Amen.